We're going to take a break from our complaining. Jeff, I will give you plenty of time to get back to it as soon as we talk some hockey, because I told you all season my goal for the Flyers was relevance. I wanted people back in the building. I wanted them to be fun to watch. And our man Sam Carchidi is here to tell us what he's seeing on the ice, because I'm really enjoying what I'm watching. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Jason. How you doing?
Well,
Uh,
Hi, Jeff.
wait. I'm going to cut you off, Jason, because
okay.
before we get there,
Okay.
why should Sam not have the opportunity to also have something to complain about? So, Sam, before we get to the good and real information, here's your chance to air your grievances. So, give us your sports grievance.
Oh, okay, it doesn't have to be Flyers. Well, uh, this isn't any breaking news, but the Eagles play selection has just been, abysmal, and how they can throw in a double coverage a 40-yard bomb when you only needed 15 yards for a field goal on the last play was just beyond me. So, but that's old news, but it's just incredible to me how they have dumbed down the offense, and it's so predictable, no motion. Not that you need trick plays or gadgets, but you have to have some kind of offense that gives the defense something to think about. And you would have thought that with Hurts running for 82 yards last week, the secondary would have cheated a little bit and moved up, but that didn't happen, or it happened and Hurts couldn't find his receivers. So. But anyway, I'll get off my complaining soapbox because the Flyers are playing really well right now.
It's as if you read my mind, though, Sam. I was, or my text messages to Jeff and other people, one or the other. Because I said to Jeff, I spared him of the wrath of text messages while watching that game on Monday night. I sent it to other friends who I knew would be watching and interested, as opposed to Jeff, who would just mute me and ignore all of my complaining. So as he acknowledges that with a head shake.
I had a vested interest too. I must admit that I needed a field goal from Elliott to win my fantasy league playoff to go into the next round. And so if Elliott had kicked a long field goal there, I would have won.
So you never even got the shot for it.
Yeah, never even got a chance.
Jeff, how does that make you feel that not only is Sam upset as an Eagles fan, but he's upset as a fantasy football player? Come on, Jeff, give me your fantasy take here on our grievance show before we get to
I now have a grievance for next year already.
There you go.
You don't like fantasy football, huh, Jeff?
I do it. I don't do it well. So there's a grievance, but
he finds things to complain about other people enjoying ways to watch football.
All right. So wait. I have one more airing a grievance question then. You started before you went to the Eagles and you said it doesn't have to be Flyers. Is there possibly at this point in the season any grievance that you could have about the Flyers?
Well, I guess, yeah, the power play has been awful. They're 29th in the league out of 32 teams. So yeah, that's a major grievance, and it's amazing they're 18, 10, and 3, I believe it is now, with the power play contributing next to nothing. So if they get that going, the penalty kill has been spectacular. I think last I looked, they were 4th in the league, and the PK has been great, which it wasn't last year. So at least they've solved one of the two special team units, but the power play and face-offs too. If you have another grievance, it's face-offs. They're near the bottom of the pack in the NHL in that, but everything else, you really can't complain. They're getting great goaltending, getting surprising contributions from guys like Nick Sealer and Sean Walker. They're both now elevated to the second pairing. The Forsters and the Brinks, the rookies are chipping in, and Urson is a rookie as well, and he's going to play on Thursday night, and he's been lights out. He's 7-0-1 in his last 8 games. So they're getting contributions from the young guys, and you blend it in with the veterans, Couture coming back, of course, from the injury. And, some of the other veterans like TK, he's an L veteran. Travis Konechny is off to another great start. Travis Sanheim has been a pleasant surprise. He's making a bid to make the All-Star team for the first time. So definitely a lot more positives than negatives.
I've actually seen the penalty kill referred to as the power kill, the way that they've been playing, because they've actually been so offensive at times in scoring goals, What is it, a change in philosophy? Is it that they have additional players? And I mean, I know Travis Konechny wasn't there for the penalty kill at times last year. What has been the biggest change that you've seen that's led to the success on the ice?
Yeah, I think they're more aggressive. I think getting Couturier back has really helped. Cates is out now, and he was a big part of the PK too for a while. But he'll be, when he comes back, you're probably going to see less of Couturier on the PK. But yeah, some of the veterans I think that have stepped in and done a great job, and even a youngster like Cam York has done a good job. So they really have not missed Ivan Provorov at all. I thought they would, to be honest with you. I thought it would take them some time to get the defense together. Not that Provorov was a great player. I think he was an underachiever. But, let's face it, he played 26, 27 minutes a night. And that's hard to replace. But, they've done it. And the defensemen have really stepped up. You mentioned Sanheim. And to me, Sealer has been a revelation. I mean, here's a guy who left hockey a few years ago because he had been sent down to the minors by Chicago, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to continue, and just left and went to work for his dad at as a paint place, some kind of paint business in Minnesota. And after a few months, said that he really missed hockey, came back, went to the Wild as a free agent, and kind of was just an okay player, but he has really found himself with the Flyers. He played very well last year, and this year he leads a team. He's plus 15. He leads a team in block shots, and him and Walker, surprisingly, have been a terrific pairing, number 2 pairing for the Flyers.
The number 1 pairing, you now have Cam York, who last year was sent down for a period of time. What has changed or what has improved, and why has Cam York gotten to the place that he currently is?
I think a lot of it is Sanheim, and he's had his ups and downs this year. I don't want to paint too rosy a picture. I mean, he's struggled in some games, but he played a lot last year on the first pairing, and I think that kind of relaxed him a little bit this year. He was kind of thrown in with Ivan Provorov a lot last year when he came back up from the minors, and he seems a little more assertive and driving the play. And, Sanheim has helped him out as well. And, Sanheim, to his credit, has gone to the opposite side. He's now playing the right side. He's a natural left-handed shooter. And so he sacrificed his game a little bit, or so you thought, but he's been terrific. I don't think he'll ever go back to the left side because he's been that good. And they've done most of this year without Ristolainen, who was hurt for more than half the season. So, give this team credit. I thought the defense would struggle mightily, I'll be honest. And they have not. That's been the best part of their game. Going into last night, they were 7th in the NHL in goals against. So 7 from the top. Last year it was the opposite. They were near the bottom. And both goalies have been excellent. I mean, Carter Hart has been great. And as I mentioned, Sam Ersson has been lights out the last 8 games. And I think if they took a Rookie of the Year vote right now, Sam Ersson would probably be in the top 5. I mean, Connor Bedard is going to run away with it. But I think Ersson has made enough of an impact with the Flyers that he's going to get some votes, maybe not for number 1, but, I think he'll be strongly considered anyway for the top 5. He's playing, basically he was playing maybe every 4th game, but now with Hart ill, he's been playing every game for the last couple of weeks, and the Flyers haven't skipped a beat.
I saw you put that out on social the other day. Going into Thursday night's game, he's got a 1.85 goals against and a 929 save percentage in his last 10 starts. What does his emergence allow the Flyers to do? Because they are still a team in a rebuild. And you talk about Walker and Sealer, they've played themselves into not only a role in the team, but being mentioned in players that could potentially be moved at the trade deadline for a rebuilding team. So what does the emergence of Ersson and some of these other players here do in terms of flexibility for Keith Jones and Danny Briere as they try to continue to remake this roster?
Yeah, it's a good question, Jason. And I guess the short answer is it gives the Flyers more options. And that's a good thing. I talked to Danny Breer last week and he said to me flat out, we are not going to be buyers. I said, now you're in this playoff race. Does that change your philosophy at the trade deadline? He said, absolutely not. We are not going to be buyers. And well, of course that could change if this excellence continues. But like I said, it gives them more options. I mean, are they going to trade Carter Hart? The odds are probably 2% maybe. But now with Urson there, you believe in Urson. If your socks are knocked off for an offer for Carter Hart, let's say a team gives you, a proven NHL player and 2 or 3 number 1 picks, you got to listen. So at least Danny Howe has some options because it looks like Urson can play regularly in the NHL. And what a great problem, if you want to call that a quote unquote problem to have. And you mentioned the 2 other guys that probably right now could give you Walker, especially being right-handed and still young, 28. He could probably bring you a first-round pick if you decided to trade him. I'm not quite sure you can get that much for Sealer, maybe a second-round pick. But again, you have some options now and good options. And, Danny says he wants to stockpile draft picks. He doesn't want to trade draft picks. He already has a couple number 1s for next year. And if he can get another one, maybe you'll see one of these defensemen go if he can get a high pick for one of them. But it's real early right now. As you guys know, we're only maybe a little past the 1/3 mark in the season. And John Tortorella at the morning skate today says, hey, I don't even want to talk about the playoffs. You got to talk to me at the end of January. It's so early right now. He didn't even want to entertain Kevin Kurz from The Athletic, asked him about, how important it would be. Good question. How important it would be for this young team to be in a playoff hunt in the second half of the year. And Torch just said, I'm not even going to go there, and, it's way too early for that. And Kevin pointed out, well, it's 31 games. You're another 10 games, you'll be at the halfway point. So it to us, it doesn't seem early, but Torch doesn't even want to go there right now. And I think I can understand that he wants to keep the players focused, and he's done a great job. I mean, there's no question. He to me is a strong Coach of the Year candidate, and but it is only 31 games, and we'll see how things play out.
One of the things that people were concerned about with Torts is his development of young players. It seems like he is developing the young players and doing a great job of it. What has been the difference, if anything, in his coaching style?
Yeah, and he's done that in the past too. I think John Bailey, my colleague at Philly Hockey Now, did a real nice story the other day outlining that how John has developed young players at different spots, different stops along his NHL coaching career. And, I think because he's so fiery and gets in your face, I think, it's kind of a misnomer that he's no good with kids. Kids don't want to play for him.
Right.
But he's a great teacher. And, Noah Cates, a good example, really developed last year as a rookie. Urson had a cup of coffee last year. He developed. Cam York developed. And we're seeing more guys this year. Bobby Brink has been very defensively responsible so far. And he's on like a 14, 15 goal pace. For a guy who plays limited minutes, he's doing fine. Same with Tyson Forster playing a 200-foot game, another rookie. So, John has not been afraid to bench these guys and give them a teaching moment, if you will. Brink came out of the lineup early in the year. I did not agree with a lot of the benchings he gave Morgan Frost early in the year. I thought, one time, okay, but he kind of yo-yoed him 3 different times. I thought that was a little too much myself, but because he really wasn't playing badly at all. But, he's getting results. You cannot argue with the results. I mean, does he go overboard sometime with the benchings? Maybe. I think he does. But you can't argue with the results. And he's getting them, as you said, from the young players.
You mentioned the young players, and obviously, Morgan Frost, Bobby Brink, Tyson Forrester, Owen Tippett, those guys. The guys that aren't here are the ones that are supposed to be the really talented ones with Mitchkov and Gautier and those guys coming. And you mentioned he has some ones for next year to use, looking for more. I'm curious, a third of the way through the season, given the product on and off the ice, what should a fan feel about this franchise right now? Because Jeff and I have talked about how will fans react when they start to trade pieces because they're playing well, yet at the same time they're still trying to build a roster for the future. So what's the state on and off the ice for a fan looking to jump on a bandwagon here?
Well, the two guys you just mentioned that aren't here right now. I mean, it's a great time to jump on. Let's face it, those two guys, they need snipers, and those two guys look like snipers. I think they might still need a veteran, and I think you'll see Danny Briere as they get closer. I think right now they're a playoff contender. Are they a Stanley Cup contender? I don't think so, and I don't think Danny Briere even thinks so. So as they get closer to that, maybe 2 years down the road, then you might see them add like a free agent sniper, somebody that can, pop in 30 goals or 26 goals, something like that, and help their power play, which has been really stale. But the two guys you mentioned, one will be here in 3 years. Gauthier will be here next year, maybe at the end of this year. They look like the real deal. They're both playing very well, and time will tell whether they'll be NHL caliber snipers, but they certainly look like they have the ability, and that is just what the Flyers need. If you look at one weakness, and I talked about the power play, they don't have a guy you can really count on that can score a big goal. It's spread out. There's some advantages to that, but you need a guy you can lean on in crunch time. And I'm going to go way back 50 years almost to when the Flyers won their cups. They were a hardworking team like this team. This team reminds me of the Flyers back in the day in that they don't get outworked. But that team had guys you could really count on to score goals. The McLeishes, the Barbers, the Clarks and Lonsbury, Dornhofer. I can go on and on. I mean, they had 30 goal scorers coming out their ears. And this team probably will, you'll have Konechny maybe. He should get 30, but other than that, Tippett may come close to it, but you don't have like six guys like that team did that were a threat, and that it's not easy to defend when you have that many snipers, but they're coming, and I think the two you mentioned are going to supply that, and I also believe you'll see a big name free agent here, probably in 2 or 3 years, a guy that can put the puck in the net, and who knows, maybe Joel Farabee, whose game has really improved this year. He's a year away from the neck surgery. Who knows? Maybe he develops into a 30-goal scorer. He certainly has the potential. But to get back to your question, yeah, I think there's a lot to get excited about, and I think the fans should jump on this bandwagon. Does that mean they're going to make the playoffs this year? Absolutely not. I think it's still going to be a struggle for them to do that, because I think some teams below them in the standings will surpass them. The Devils, for instance, Washington is close, and Washington's power play has been even worse than the Flyers, if you can believe that. But so it's far from a guarantee this team will even be in the playoff race by the end of April. But give them credit; they're outworking teams, and they're fun to watch. They're playing at an increased speed, and they're in every game. I think they've been enjoyable to watch.
As we get closer to January and you get towards the end of January, let's speculate ahead that the Flyers continue to play at this pace, and maybe even the power play gets a little bit better. How hard is it going to be for Briere and Jones to be disciplined enough to say, we have a plan, we're not going to deviate from it?
It'll be a little tougher, Jeff, no question about it. And I asked Danny that directly the other day. I said, let's just say, we're in February and you guys are right there in a playoff spot, and will that change the way you look at things? And he said, absolutely not. That's what he says now. But I agree with you. I think it will be tough because the fans are starting to get excited about this team, especially with the Eagles starting to lose, and they look like they're not going to be a Super Bowl team. So, of course, the Phillies are a ways off from starting. So, some of the attention that the Flyers did not get, they're starting to get now, and people are looking up and saying, "This team's in second place. What happened?" And they're starting to get excited. So I agree with you. I think it will be a little tougher for Danny to stay disciplined. So maybe he kind of compromises instead of, getting a big name player. He gets somebody like an Eller or some. Maybe he gets somebody that is a hard nosed player and can, help the power play and also kill penalties and be. I hate to keep going back to the Flyers. Back in the day, they picked up Terry Crisp late in the year, and he was a great addition. He wasn't a big scorer, but he chipped in with timely goals and just a great playmaker, and he was terrific on the penalty kill. Maybe they get somebody like that, somebody that a jack of all trades but no superstar, and only costs you maybe a fourth or fifth round pick. So that would be kind of a compromise. Maybe it just stirs the pot a little bit and then re-energizes them. Sometimes you get the right player, he can really help you and maybe push you over the top. But I don't see him, making a big move to acquire a player. And I still think there's a better chance they would trade a Sealer or a Walker before they do anything else. But it's, like I said, it's a good problem to have right now.
Yeah. Well, Sam, we got a couple minutes left, and let's talk NHL. If it's not the Flyers, if the Flyers are not, let's say, one of the final four teams, based on what you've seen this season, who would you say are the top two teams in each of the conferences?
Well, the Rangers. I've always been a big believer in the Rangers, and Boston. Be honest with you, Boston has really surprised me. I did not see Boston playing as well as they have so far. And Vegas is Vegas. They're the defending champion, and to their credit, they have not skipped a beat. Sometimes you have a Stanley Cup layover. They have not had that at all. But there have been so many surprises right now. Vancouver's been a big surprise. I think Boston losing a lot of players. They've been a surprise that they're still up there. But right now I would probably say Vegas and the Rangers, and a good dark horse might be the LA Kings and Dallas Stars. I like the style they play. Winnipeg has certainly played well. I don't believe in Vancouver yet, but they could prove me wrong. But if I had to pick the Stanley Cup final right now, I would go with Vegas and the New York Rangers. And the Flyers right now are ninth in points. Actually, they're tied for sixth. So 6, 7, 8. Actually, they're ninth. They're 1 point behind sixth. So that just shows you the brand of hockey they're playing. If they win tonight, depending on other results, they could be the sixth best team in the NHL, which is mind-boggling. I mean, but again, that doesn't mean they're going to be a Stanley Cup contender. But all signs point to progress, and you got to like what you see, and you don't just snap your fingers and go from where they were last year and miss the playoffs for the third straight year to being a Stanley Cup champion. But they have made tremendous strides, and at this point, that's all you can ask for.
It's going to be fun to keep watching them. Like I said, I told Jeff when we were talking expectations at the beginning of the season, I went to a game at the end of the season last year. The building was half empty and the other half was the other fans from the other team. I didn't want to see that. I'd never seen that at a Flyers game before. I didn't want to see that again. And
probably a Rangers game, right?
It was.
Yeah.
And you watch at each game this year, there's more and more people in the building. And that's, what you want to see if you're a franchise that's trying to get people to buy back into what you were doing. Because we've talked about it in the past. There became such a disconnect between the franchise and the fans that now all of a sudden you're starting to get that again. So look, we always love getting to speak with you a little bit. Check out Sam over at Philly Hockey Now. You can read his reports. Broad Street Bull on different social platforms. That's how people can
at Broad Street Bull on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now. And
Jeff doesn't like to call it anything. He doesn't like to talk about it on the show, but I do want to give you a plug for where people can find you.
Yeah, I'm not on Philly Hockey Now as much as I used to, because I'm working on a project, a
100%, right?
TV project on the Broad
Yeah.
Street Bullies. But yeah, I have a lot of the Broad Street Bullies in my head right now because we're doing this project saluting the 50 years. So if I went back too far, I apologize.
Not at all.
But
No.
always good to talk to you guys, and have a great holiday.
And
Have
we
a great one.
can't wait to see it when it's out.
I appreciate that, guys.
Take it easy, Sam. Thank you.
All right. See you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.